Fallout is a franchise I adore and have poured countless hours into. From the capital wasteland to the Mojave Desert, I have traveled these lands, shot various radioactive monstrosities, and met the varied factions and people that inhabit this world. Now, it has been some time since we've had a new Fallout game, with Fallout 76 being the last one we got back in 2018, which was nearly 6 years ago. The fans are dying for a new wasteland to explore, and with Bethesda working on Starfield DLC as well as Elder Scrolls 6, it's going to be a while till we get a new mainline game for them. This is why I think Bethesda should let another studio try making a Fallout spin-off game in the meantime, while we wait on Bethesda for Fallout 5. And while the obvious choice would be Obsidian to make it, and to make like some game like Fallout New Vegas 2 or in some other part of America, I dream of something else, and this game takes place on a whole nother continent. What I'm talking about is Fallout Africa. Now I know some of you will say that placing a game outside of America would make it lose its 50s retro aesthetic Americana charm, but I disagree, and I've even thought of a way to even incorporate some of that into the world, which I will explain later. But first, I should establish where exactly and when exactly I want this game to take place, and so to do that I'll have to explain the setting. I would ideally want the game to take place between 2150 and 2180, which gives us about 100 years after the Great War, which will allow it to have some wasteland chaos, but also still allow to see some redevelopment of the society in order to see like some sort of like post-apocalyptic society, like the ones that we see in Fallout New Vegas and in somewhat in Fallout 2. Now, the main region where I would want the game to take place in would probably be in the North African area, as that has some very populated cities and has some varied terrain as well, with some deserts and some grassy areas. And I would want the game to take place probably in Algeria, as that is like where I think that would be best worked for certain factions and storylines, which I will explain in a little bit. Some animals we could have in the game would be like two-headed oxen that are kind of like the Brahmin we have in like the Fallout games, as well as like some mutated hippos and rhinos, as well as like croc claws instead of like gator claws, as when maybe some like chimera like lions that can like I don't know, maybe like breathe fire. You can like explain that through like a science experiment or something like that, as well as like mutated camels with like either 3 eyes maybe or 2 heads and such. But those are just some examples of some animals that like could be in the area. The first faction I want to discuss about would be U.S. Army Remnant faction, which would essentially consist of the crew of a nuclear submarine that chose not to fire its nukes during the Great War, and essentially it would be like the descendants of these like original like crew members, and they would like land in North Africa and try to like make a stronghold for themselves, and with their equipment that they have and military power, they start to become like a powerful faction in the wasteland. I would also want like a Chinese communist like a remnant faction probably in the area too, and they could be like the descendants of like former like communists that were occupying like some eastern parts of the North African region, such as like Libya, and this was done to like keep their oil reserves, and maybe they use this to like help fuel like vehicles that they have. And with the Starfield like reveal of the rovers, I was thinking like they could have like a lot of like different like military vehicles amongst them, and that could be like a fun way to like incorporate that into like the game itself as like a gameplay option. I think there would also be like a farming like government type over there, which consists of many of the native like farming groups over there, as well as like other people that are native to the country, and they would try to like maintain their own independent nature in the face of both the U.S. and the Chinese communist like remnants. You could have some other factions in there, such as, for example, maybe a trading alliance that's similar in a way to like what the Crimson Caravan was in Fallout New Vegas, as well as maybe like a hunting club that like hunts down like different mutant animals across like the wasteland. And you can also have various banded warlord groups. Try to make them like a bit unique, and they can be like their main like enemy type that you face throughout the region, probably. Now, the main narrative would focus around probably you being like maybe a farmhand in one of these farming union farms, and one day your farm is attacked by one of these bandit warlords, and essentially you have to choose how you get out of this situation. But by the end of it, the farm is completely destroyed, and you have to find somewhere new to go to, and this will lead to you meeting multiple factions across like the country, such as like the U.S. remnants and the communist remnants, and you realize there's a Cold War style conflict between them, and it's starting to boil over. With the U.S. remnants having access to probably some like water technology that allows them to like have like access to like lots of clean water, whereas the farming union has access to like a lot of food resources, whereas the communist remnants have access to like a lot of oil resources, and they all are like trading amongst each other, but there's also some tensions and hate amongst them and it could boil over into a whole new resource war, like the one that started the Great War, and it can help like fortify the motif and theme of that war never changes. That's all I have so far for the idea. If anyone has any like other ideas, I would like to hear them in the comments down below. And if you could like and subscribe if you're still here, I would really appreciate that. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you for listening. Bye.